Okay, we left off, I believe, with the cardiovascular lymphatics. Lymphatics will not be a big part, but it will be a part. Questions about lymphatics? Circulatory routes. Remember, don't get caught. It's the right lymphatic duct and the thoracic duct. There is no left thoracic duct. Okay? No left. And you have the immune system. That's going to be the major thing, right? Yeah, you have your tonsils and your spleen and your thymus. Those are major organs, but your key thing there is your immune system, specific, non-specific. Do you remember how you get your immunity with the natural, passive, active vaccinations? Naturally, passive, your mother does. Artificial, passive is when you get it from another source like an animal, horse serum. Cell is unique for each. B and T lymphocytes, what are different about them, what do they do?
Sorry, what was the lymphatic one again? It was the ducts that it drains into?
Ducts that drains into, and the major organs like your tonsils, your spleen, your thymus, lymph nodes.
And all the lymphatics are?
Huh?
All the lymphatics, oh, not just TB.
No. So the immune cells then with your T and B lymphocytes, remember, don't get caught. The T and B lymphocytes are lymphocytes that they are produced in the bone marrow. And the T lymphocytes are specializing in cells by getting maturity in the thymus. Don't confuse thymus with thyroid.
Can you just generally say the difference, like the specific and non-specific?
Non-specific is when you cut your finger, squeeze your knee, and you're going to have most of the phagocytic reaction with the neutrophils. And you're not going to identify the perpetrator. Just general bacteria. You're going to clear it up, contain it, clear it up, get inflammation, and so forth. But you aren't going to call out the big guns that are going to actually mobilize it and catch it with the antibody, make a great big ugly looking blob of stuff so the killer cells will destroy it. It's just going to be mostly phagocytosis of the neutrophils. That's why neutrophils are the most numerous of your white blood cells, correct? And see again, this is double dipping into the blood system there with your white blood cells. Eosinophils are for parasitic infections. Your allergens. Basophils mostly give off your histamine that allows for the diffusion of your products in your body.
specific immunity is like the opposite of that. So
Right.
that is when the big ones come
Right,
up.
and now, next thing, she had got non-specific and specific. Specific immunity is when you're going to either have a cell-mediated or antibody-mediated, which, remember the sheet I gave you, the big letters across there, recognize, what? Attack, and remember. See, when you skin your knee, and then it heals up, and then 3 months later you skin it again, your body doesn't remember what that bacteria looked like. It just attacks like a brand new, never seen before. Whereas your specific immunity, both cell and antibody, specific immunity, you recognize it, you identify it, you attack it by making a big blob of it, or you're going to blow holes in it or something, and then you will make those memory cells that kind of remember the little epitopes. Remember those guys? The epitopes? You'll find in your mailboxes? Okay, the epitopes that will then have you be able to produce these memory cells into your cells that will destroy that foreign substance very quickly. B cells must turn into what specific type of cell in order to make antibodies? Plasma cells. Antibodies are what type of chemical? Protein. They're not a cell. They're a protein. Antibodies are proteins. Alicia, okay?
Yeah.
Anything else want to know?
I would
I
think.
prefer if you ask questions, and I'll keep on rolling through here, but
It's just a whole bunch of ones.
what?
It's a whole bunch of ones. Just trying to get our thoughts organized.
So for example, I could give you a question, the B cells, once they are activated, will initially do what following procedure? A, they'll become killer T cells. B, they'll turn into plasma cells. C, they'll turn into complement cells. Or D, they will go through the capillaries by diathesis. That's a good word, diathesis, right? That's a good word. What is diathesis? Time's up. What? Yeah, diathesis is when your white blood cells get right through the blood vessels, get into the area where it's going to be damaged. That could be non-specific. So the actual thing is your B cells will turn into plasma cells. Antibodies are produced by A, T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes, C, complement cells, or D, eosinophils.
What was the question?
I remember that 3 seconds ago.
Antibodies are produced.
Antibodies are produced by B cells. B as in boy.
How do you say the cisterny tribe?
This is Tyler.
Yeah, that houses the,
That's in the lymphatic system.
where we,
Reservoir for the lymphatic tissue fluid in the thoracic duct. Mostly it's going to be pulling in that lymphatic fluid from your digestive system. That's why it's there. It's right near your digestive system. Well, there's a good question.
What was it?
Think about that.
What?
Cystic highly, but what is the little finger-like lymphatic area in the microvilli called? Lacteal. Lacteal. Okay, the question would be, lacteals in the immune system are found in the A, stomach, B, small intestine, C, bladder, or D, Fifth Street parking lot. Okay, so it's in your small intestine. Okay. blood lymphatics or immune system. You should definitely know active immunity, your natural and artificial active. What's artificial active? Vaccine. Yes.
So we need to know about like the IgG thing.
IgG, IgA, IgM, they're all antibodies. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They're genetic. No, we'll say which one's this, which one's that. Yes.
Can you just repeat that really quickly? So the passive, so it's natural passive, active passive, artificial,
Natural active. Natural,
passive.
artificial.
So from your mom is natural,
Passive. Your mom's passing it on to you.
Right.
Okay? So you have two actives and two naturals and two passive. Let's go to that chapter here because it's a little bit, Halloween face was showing up here. So 8. Page 31. You have natural and natural. See, I would rearrange them. But when you look at it, you do what you want. But again, you might want to draw a picture. It sounds stupid, maybe, perhaps, but draw. Natural and natural. You have natural active. That's easy. You got the disease. You're naturally going to get the disease. You're active. All right? That's when you get the disease and you fill up memory cells. Natural passive, your mom's naturally going to pass it on to you. Okay? Artificial active. You artificially pretend you got the disease by getting a vaccination. And then artificial passive, you're going to get it from some of the source, like a horse serum, antibodies, or from another person. Okay? Now, the passive ones do not give you long-term immunity because you don't actively make your own memory cells. You're just going to get the antibodies, which are short-lived. Okay? If you don't have the active way of getting about doing it. So your passive ones are short-lived. Active, artificial, natural, active, those are you're going to get the actual organism to deal with. Danny, first question.
You said it's like a booster, would that be like a tetanus one?
Yes.
You get it like every
Yes.
7 years or something?
Yes.
But so if you get a vaccine for something, that's a passive, that's
No.
No, that's not
You gotta get that, see, you still have that in your head, you gotta somehow get your etch-a-sketch smooth sand there and put it in the right way, yeah. Just think of it, and I would rearrange it. You're both are active. Naturally, you gotta get it, and artificially, well, you pretend you got it. And then the passive ones, mom passes it on, and the horse passes it on. Okay?
So for the passive, antibodies are given to you.
Right.
For the active, you're making your own antibodies.
Right. Memory cells, that's why it'll last a lot longer. Question over here somewhere. Jackie or?
So the flu shot is under which one then?
You tell me. You tell me.
I would say that artificial passive is the way that you get, like, you're still building antibodies, so I'm.
No. Your flu shot is a vaccination.
It's because it morphs.
They're gonna give you what the protein looks like. You're going to react to that and build up antibodies. Yes, you get it every year because the virus changes every year. Okay? Just learn it right in order like that, you'll be right.
So passive goes away. Basically.
Yeah, passes.
Passive
At the
goes
time it passes. Questions? Okay. Anything else about, good?
I just found one thing about the lines of defense.
Lines of defense.
I have here written non-specific goes with the second line of defense.
Okay,
What were the
I'm trying to find.
First line of defense is your unbroken skin. Second line of defense would be when you have your broken skin, you're gonna have all those different, barrier things which are like, well, your, acid conditions of your linings of your urethra, your vaginal canal, your urethra. You have your, mucus linings of your nasal passage and your rectum, so there's barriers like that. You also have the different white blood cells like your neutrophils. And your third line of defense is your active immunity, your actual cellular and antibody immunity. Anything else about those guys? All right, then digestion. Then you have the anatomy, the organs, the function of each. For example, what does Ruji do? Expands your stomach, ability for opportunistic feeding. What are the hormones? There are 3 basic digestive hormones. Now, I would suggest you do one, learn your digestive hormones, and then some other time look over your nutritional hormones. Okay? Digestive hormones, gastric, CCK, and secrete. Now, I gave a mathematical this morning. And one of the questions was the pancreas. I put 23, 24, 25, the pancreas. Right? It said, name different enzymes that are found in there that dissolve or break down carbohydrates to 20, protein to 21, and lipids for 22. Now, another question, this organ is the pancreas, okay? Identified, right? And it says, name 2 hormones that this organ produces, the pancreas. I saw, as they were handing in, at least 3 papers out of 15 that had down CCK and secretin. How would they put that down? Huh? What? We used a picture of pancreas. They had a model of pancreas. I put right there in the big next blue tag on it.
Confused with the hormones and enzymes.
No, there were other hormones. There's not picture it, it had a model of pancreas. Right? I said, what is this organ? Remember, we're at 15. In 16, 17, name 2 hormones produced in this organ. Right, they put down secretin and CCK. Why? They flip-flop it. Think about it. The pancreas will be told to release its stuff by a hormone, what? Secretin. Where is that produced? In the small intestine. So see, what I wanted to show you here is you have to be a little careful. You don't think ahead. You got to really look at the question, and you see that pancreas goes, oh, pancreas, yeah. Well, when the pancreas is going to secrete that, secretin, and then the pancreas does this. It didn't ask that. It asked, what are the 2 hormones of the pancreas? Right? Then it did not say what hormone will cause the release of pancreatic enzymes. That would be secretin. Okay? You can see there's where I get myself in high oil because you guys, you tricked us. Well, no, you just have to read what I'm asking, right? You have to be very, very careful because you have all this stuff up there and make sure you read it correctly. Because you do have a lot of hormones, a lot of enzymes. Okay? So you're doing 3 digestive hormones. Gastrin in the stomach. Okay? And then your CCK and your secretin are in the small intestine mucosa. The lining's there. Once that chyme comes out of the stomach, starting to go in through the duodenum, through the little sphincter muscle called the Aortic sphincter, good. Then that acidic chyme that has proteins and fats in it are going to trigger the receptors in the cells. They're going to release the hormones, which are going to take a quick trolley right to the pancreas, right? Now, You're gonna go to the bloodstream and go all the way around and get to the pancreas. And pancreas, yeah, right down there, you gotta put those juices, because there's juice down there that wants to be digested, right? It has to go through the blood system, okay? If there's no fat, no protein, eat cotton candy, or eat a, hard piece of, lifesaver. You're not gonna reach any CCK. Also, there's a buffering agent that's released from the pancreas. What's that? Bicarb. Okay, now, she did this on purpose just to show you what can happen. Okay, we got totally engaged in the discussion. What is the buffering agent released from the pancreas? A, hydrochloric acid. Yep, that's it! No, it's gonna buffer that. See? So the first one there, that's a good one. Right now, buffering the acid, you gotta think through it. Bicarb, CO2, or, Ray Fisher, your old friend, carbonic anhydrase, which you would not put down because that doesn't do any buffer, that's an enzyme, okay? So the correct answer would be bicarbonate. But many of these questions, they'll try to lure you in that first thing because you're thinking hydrochloric acid is buffered. Yeah, there it is, hydrochloric acid. You gotta think, question somewhere.
I got a whole bunch of them.
A bunch of them.
The cells in the stomach, like the chief cells and all those.
Yep.
Should we go over those or,
Oh yeah, chief cells produce what?
lipase or?
CDE. Chief cells produce digestive enzymes. What two digestive enzymes are produced in the stomach?
Lipase and pepsin.
Lipase and pepsin. Are you confused about something? Straight around, wait, yours. Okay, and then you have the parietal cells. Parietal cells produce what? Hydrochloric acid, intrinsic factor. What does intrinsic factor do?
B12.
Okay, it ties up B12. We're going too fast for Ellen. She's.
No, I got that one.
Hydrochloric acid and what?
Intrinsic factor.
Oh, sorry.
Please pipe up if we're going too fast, so you don't qualify something like this. Rachel?
What does the hydrochloric acid do?
What's it do? You need to drop the pH of the stomach coming from about 6.5 to 7 in the mouth so that the pepsin will be activated. The actual hydrochloric acid, now, this is just a general question, don't get all, the hydrochloric acid will cause the pepsinogen to turn to pepsin. You drop in the acid, but your enzyme is pepsin.
I have a question.
What?
I have a question.
I don't know if I will come to it, but it will just be something else. It's another treat, exciting,
Like the last
Activity.
name we want.
huh?
Like you did name we want.
You can do that if you want the question.
Huh?
Oh, you mean the last time?
I think it should
It was
be
Chris'
this.
picture of a sun.
All right, so intrinsic factor of those two things, hydrochloric acid and, parietal cells is hydrochloric acid and intrinsic factor. Okay? And your G cells produce the gastrin. Hormone.
G cells?
G cells, G is, go ahead, it's my book.
Yeah. I don't remember looking at that.
Where the gastrin is. Then you have the two valves of the stomach, the lower esophageal sphincter, which is the bottom of the esophagus. GERD occurs there. Gastric, esophageal reflux disorder. And you have the pyloric valve, that you really duodenum. The duodenum is where you will release the bile, and the bile duct, and the pancreatic duct, the pancreatic enzymes, and bicarbonate. The pH of the small intestine will raise to about pH of 8. that are produced by the brush border. First of all, where is the brush border? Small intestine. And 3 enzymes. Think about it for a minute. Maltase, sucrase, lactase. Okay. You have a couple other cleanup ones. Those are the main 3 that would probably be the easiest one for you to latch on to. Okay. Maltase, lactase, and sucrase. They are produced made in, secreted in the brush border. So basically, she brought up a point here. They're made there. Now, your enzymes. You have contact enzymes, which means that they're going to come in contact with your food. Like your brush border ones, like your disaccharides, maltase, lactase, sucrase. You have pepsin, which comes in contact with your proteins. You got amylase in your mouth that comes in contact with your cracker or your piece of potato. Lipase, which comes in contact in your mouth and in your stomach. Okay? Now, you have some enzymes, like for example the pancreatic enzymes, they do not directly come in contact with the food. They have to be told to come into the duodenum by way of secretion. Okay? So secretin and CCK are released in the small intestine, duodenum, small intestine, duodenum, right? But they have to go to another area of your body to recall or get the bile into the digestive tract and get the digestive enzymes of the pancreas into the digestive tract. The other enzymes are already there, and they can be initiated by the actual food itself. Okay, so we're in the small intestine. There's 3 ranges of the small intestine, which are duodenum, the duodenum, and the ileum. And after that, you go into the colon. But the little pouchy thing before you get to the colon is called the cecum. That valve there between the small intestine and the cecum is called the ileocecal valve. And you got the ascending colon on your right side. Transverse colon across your belt line. Descending colon, your left side. Then you have a little S-turn thing that kind of goes back towards your rectum. Okay? That's your sigmoid. Your appendix is attached to which part of that colon? Cecum. So enzymes are produced in the large intestine.
In the large intestine?
Yep.
Wait, what is that?
None. What enzymes produce large intestine? None. Now bacteria can break down food for you, but you don't produce any enzymes. This is one major function of large intestine.
Water.
Water reabsorption, correct.
What's the one right in?
Vitamin K is produced in the large intestine by a nice little critter called bacteria. I'm not a teacher, so bacteria. Next semester will be E. coli. Okay, what else? So we're done with that. Okay? You can remember vitamin K if you have to, because there's a term out the street from stuff that comes out of rectum, but it's stuff you can see rather than K. If you spell it wrong, then that's vitamin. Yes, sir.
Okay, can we go through absolutely everything the liver does? Because I get all kinds of fouled up with everything.
Absolutely, all
Like
liver.
everything the liver.
Why do you think Barry ought to take this question? Because he always says, just say liver, and then you're good to go there. So I think the liver man ought to take care. Okay, let's go to the chapter on nutrition. Chapter on nutrition, and when you look at the chapter on nutrition, you have a part there that is, no, I'm sorry, it probably isn't here. Probably is in your digestive chapter. I'm sorry. Here. There's your liver on page 25. Yeah, 25. 975. 975. Okay, so what the liver does, first of all, take a look at the idea of the G words. G words for the liver. Okay? Everybody got those down pat from the other day?
Can we go over one more time?
Yes. Look, I get my paper here. I'm thinking for you. Glycogenosis, glycogen making, glycogenolysis or glycolysis, which is doing what? Breaking down glycogen to make glucose. See, anytime you have a Y in the word, you're going to make glycogen. You have a glycogen, now you're going to break it down. That's the big one, right? Glycogen is, see, it's more than a U. See, a U is only like this, and a Y is like that. See, it's bigger. See, right, so glycogen is the bigger molecule. So, I'm going to break it down up here. Then you have gluconeogenesis. There, you don't have any Y, do you? No, so you're going to make glucose from new things like protein and fat. Your liver is involved with all that. Okay?
And the glucagon is the
Now, glucagon is not produced by your liver.
cake.
Glucose is the metabolite that you're going to be working with, but glucagon is produced in the pancreas, but it has receptors in the liver, and that will then tell the liver to produce what? Glucose from what source? Initially, from glycogen. Okay? Because see, in order for you to get energy, you've got to break down your carbohydrates into simple sugars. That's the whole purpose of the lactase, maltase, sucrase. Those are going to break down your disaccharides. Where do some of those disaccharides come from? They came from the stuff you ate on your plate when you first put it in your mouth. All your starches and the complex sugars like that. Then you slowly broke them down into disaccharides, but then you had to break them down into simple sugars. And then you're going to rearrange those molecules into glucose. So that is what you're going to be using in your cells. That is what's transported in your blood. Okay? That is why if you're going to have a blood test to check for diabetes, you're going to have a fasting blood test, right? Because that way there, they'll see the minimum amount of blood sugar that's in your body after 12 hours of fasting. Because if you don't do that, you're naturally going to have a higher level of glucose. Because when you eat stuff, you're going to be breaking it down, you're going to get that glucose in your blood, and then insulin's going to be taking it out of the blood into the cell, but for a time period, you're going to test high for glucose. Okay? So, that's one of the things. Now, if you take a look at the liver, then it doesn't really give you a lot of detail in your textbook here what the liver actually does. When you go back into the nutrition chapter, it again talks about the post-absorptive state, and there's where you have the G words on page 1024. The liver does that. As far as fats, the adipocytes, okay, will be produced by your liver. Your liver will store iron, store vitamins. It produces many plasma proteins, like fibrinogen, vitamins, iron.
You said adipose fats produced by the liver?
Yeah, it's going to change the extra energy into glycogen. If you don't need any glycogen, it'll store it in fat tissue. Fat tissue. Okay? And it also will produce clotting factors. Very important thing it will do for you is it will detoxify many of your metabolites. So for example, there was a situation at Ole Valley High School about 2 weeks ago. This young man, a senior, walked into school. The day before he was fine, he walked into school and his friend said, "Oh, you look really yellow." And then he went to one of the teachers that was actually the guy that took over for my anatomy and physiology class, and he said, "You're really yellow, we got a nurse right away." And long story short, they rushed him to the CHOP, and I guess 2 or 3 days later he died. His liver just shut down. Well, they really don't know why. He was a very avid runner. I found this out because my neighbor used to be a cross-country coach. He's very close friends with the cross-country coach currently, so the current cross-country coach will talk to him about Facebook or Twitter or whatever it was and found out about this. So they really don't know exactly what it was, but his liver just shut down. And the yellow was his jaundice condition, because of Billy Rubin. Right? Now, one, and I'm not saying this was this, but because they had no idea. They didn't know what to do, and they tried to do a biopsy, and then he just let out. You know Tylenol, good old painkiller? It says on there, like most painkillers, just will take any more like 6 a day. But if you're really bad pain, you're probably not take more, because when you're in pain, Tylenol is very toxic. If you overdose Tylenol to get rid of your pain, you will irreparably, never to be fixed, damage your liver, and you will die. And I don't think that in all shaking his head, because I don't think a lot of people out there in the normal population really realize that. Because all these medicines say about maximum amount, take this, that, you know, okay, yeah, right. Well, I don't really think I'm going to take more, right? Not Tylenol.
Why?
Your liver will not be able to detoxify the metabolites from Tylenol. And it will poison your liver. Now, in small amounts, you're perfectly okay. But in massive doses, you will definitely have irreparable liver damage. You will die. they won't be able to do anything for you.
They've started to pull like Tylenol products for kids. Like my oldest daughter's 10, and she had fever. I would always give her Tylenol, but now my youngest daughter is 3. They say no Tylenol, just like ibuprofen.
Right.
My kids are little, that's all they told me.
Right, right. They also x-ray pregnant women years ago in medical science too. We're finding out a lot more, yeah. So you have to be very, very careful. And again, just off the cuff, not testable, but you guys are gonna deal with these people. He's shaking his head back there, those 2 guys work at EDA, Rutherford, ED area. These 2 guys work at ED department, they see it, right? In fact, it's done a very nice thing, but just so you get a heads up, what did you say about this week, Dustin? Bad week? How many?
Just a bad week.
How many?
4 today.
4 for 1 day.
Yeah.
For what?
4 deaths. Just
4 deaths.
Just in 4 hours.
4 days and 4 hours.
From?
Just post-cardiac arrest, respiratory distress, and drugs. So just
Respiratory stress.
respiratory distress.
It wasn't in Denver either. But you know. Well, they got Denver, got that thin air after.
What is Tylenol?
Ah!
Syphilis.
Why is ibuprofen better than Tylenol?
It's not necessarily defined better. I mean, ibuprofen, if you take a whole lot of it, you can cause a problem with your heart.
And stomach pain.
No, yeah, really wrecked the stomach. Yeah. All those NSAIDs, the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, really do a number on the prostaglandins of your stomach. In fact, you can go back to your chapter and see the prostaglandins in your integrity, how it shuts down prostaglandins. That's what it does to your stomach. Now, the newer COX-2 drugs, like your Celebrex, stuff like that, they are kind of pinpointed to specifically joint pain, so you can take them for arthritis and it won't affect your stomach very much.
When he was little, she was somehow got a bottle of Advil, and I called him the floor and I called. And,
Oh, Advil. Okay, what's Advil? Yeah. I said with Advil, I'll take Advil. No, I'll take that. I take Advil. No, I take Advil. You say you take ibuprofen. I said, yeah, that it's the same. Well, no, it's not the same. It's a different word. Advil and ibuprofen, it's totally different. Okay.
when I called Jason, how she took this guy, and he said, oh, she really needs to take all this stuff.
Yeah, ibuprofen's safer. Yeah. But there's many people that will grab that Tylenol saying that's the safe one. It is safe because it won't mess up your stomach, but it's not safe, right? Any over-the-counter drug is not safe because you have a very dangerous component called human error.
That's why I always alternate Tylenol. Tylenol.
Yeah, they clear your system very quickly. You don't have a long, that, remember we talked about that big word in the cancer chapter, that pharmacological kinetics of how fast it clears your system? Well, these drugs will clear your system pretty quickly as long as you take a reasonable dose. But if you take an overdose, just like alcohol, you overdose alcohol, your liver is going to clear it, it's going to kill you. You go comatose, you'll die. You shut down your nervous system and you're going to die. That's it. Right?
So like any internal damage you might have done by taking too many Tylenol can be reversed.
Not if you overdose to the point where you damage the liver. But if you just take it in your 2 or 3 or 4 tablets a day, that your liver can deal with. Nothing you deal with. Yeah. Right. Next. You good to go? Many functions, right, of the liver. Again, I'm not going to say list all 25 or whatever, no. But I'm going to say, for example, glycogen is broken down into glucose when needed by A, the stomach, B, the antibodies, C, the pancreas, or D, the liver. I don't remember these questions. I just, you know.
But you're breaking down glucose when needed by.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, glycogen is broken down into glucose when needed by the antibodies, liver, stomach, or pancreas. Liver. Just go with comparison. Put down liver. She wants a star and will marry questions. Yeah, okay, Ted, we'll do that. I'll star that what I think is a married question. If you get those wrong, it's a point off you and 2 points off a Barry.
That seems fair.
Everybody, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Hey, the nutrition teacher would think it was fair.
Any other questions on digestive? Jesus,
I know, I have the whole list on my arm. Bile, do we produce that like all the time, even if we're not gonna use it? Like, do we just keep producing it? Even if we don't secrete it?
Where do you store it?
Liver?
Store it in bile file.
No. Gallbladder, oh yeah.
Because if you don't have a gallbladder, you can still eat a prime rib. You just produce the bile that goes into your digestive tract. You know, maybe your feces will be a little more fat laden, but you can still eat that. You won't have to not eat any fats.
So even if you don't normally eat fats, you'd still produce it, just sit in your gallbladder. And if you don't have a gallbladder, you wouldn't produce bile,
Yeah, you produce it,
but it
but
wouldn't go to your digestive.
it just goes in your digestive system.
The liver just continues to put it into your. Okay.
Question? All right, we go with the liver? Think of a question I asked about liver.
What test is on?
Vitamins
With 7.
can be stored along with important ions like iron in the A, rectum, B, liver, C, heart, or D, stomach. Liver.
Stomach. You didn't put the balance in there.
It's still playing.
All right, good. Next one, nutrition. Now, nutrition. Someone asked a good question in the lab earlier before class. They were looking at stuff for lab practice and said, what about this nutrition chapter? Well, there's not very much, if anything, I can think of off the top of my head that I would ask in the lab practical on nutrition. But in this actual test, yes. Because now you have your nutritional hormones. What are they? Ghrelin. Don't confuse ghrelin with gastrin. Gastrin, you get gas. Gas, right? That's digestion. Ghrelin is getting hungry, right? And then you also have CCK. What else? PYY, what's that one? Satiety, what does that mean? You're satisfied. You don't need any more food. And what about leptin? Leptin is a positive. You want to eat more, or you're done, go away. You're done. So there's only one hormone from ghrelin, PYY, CCK, leptin, that tells you to eat. That is what? Ghrelin. Correct. That's how you should rearrange the study. Okay? This is on page 1003. There's your nice little chart in your book. Now, insulin is shown there because insulin will have an effect on you with the idea of getting glucose into your body. But for your sake, I would just forget that one as far as a nutrition hormone. Ghrelin, leptin, the PYY, CCK, That's good. Now, when you have the digestive CCK, which is released from the cells in the small intestine, when you have CCK as a nutrition hormone, where is it released? I like the question right there.
Where is it secreted by?
Yeah, where does CCK secrete? What's a nutritional hormone?
Do a DM with this.
That's right, the same place. It's only produced one place. It's in the cell of the digestive system. So if you have a fat-laden appetizer, all right, you get escargots in garlic butter. You swirl them around, right? Get hungry. Swirl around there and pop those guys in there, right? You're not getting those, huh? And 15, 20 minutes after you've eaten those, you're comfortable, you're satisfied, right? You know, because some of that butter material is kind of leaking in through your pyloric, getting into your duodenum, and it's releasing the CCK, which is like the brain says, hey, you're satisfied, you can go home now, you're done eating. Okay? You're going to keep on eating more. Okay? And so your fat-laden diet, remember eating a great big, heavy, fatty type diet, and you really get full, and you're full for hours, seems afterwards, where you eat a bagel, right, and you're hungry, right? You're cereal, you get hungry. Okay? All right, what else? Metabolic pathways or blood groups of the different food groups. Carbohydrates. The preparation step for carbohydrates getting into the Krebs cycle is, bring it on, glycolysis. Don't confuse glycolysis with glycogenolysis. Okay? And then you have preparation for proteins to go in the Krebs cycle is
Deamination.
deamination. And the preparation for fats. Remember Bert beta? Beta oxidation. Yeah. Beta oxidation is going to be the preparation to get fats into your citric acid cycle and ultimately your electron transport. Out of the three, glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and electron transport, where do you produce the most ATP?
Electron transport.
Electron transport, good. If you don't have very much oxygen and you develop lactic acid in your muscles when you're exerting them, how many ATP would you produce? 2.
Produce 2 ATP when you don't have enough water.
Okay. Anything else about the cycles? Okay, good. Vitamin groups. Name the 2 water-soluble vitamins. Quick! B and C. Each coast has one water, no water soluble. And all the rest of them, A, E, D, K, they're all liquid soluble. When you're looking at the minerals, electrolytes, elements, those things, you should be familiar, like for example, the importance of iron, Fe, would be for what in your body? Blood production. Hemoglobin. Iron's in the middle of hemoglobin. Calcium, electrolyte, or ion is very important for, bring it on. Muscle contraction. Shh. Calcium ion is important for muscle contraction, blood clotting, okay, and moving heart. Yeah, sort of sodium, and so does potassium, and so does chlorine, and also calcium is stored in your bones. Okay? How about potassium? There you have to regulate that, or you will have heart problems. All right? Again, it's nerves. Sodium, water balance, and nervous system. Iodine. What gland do you need iodine? Thyroid. Very good. For T3 and T4. Very good. Okay. Goiter, very big neck lady, would be conditioned if you have a lack of what electrolyte or ion or chemical in your diet? Iodine. Ash?
Sodium.
Sodium is your water balance and your electrolyte for the nervous system.
What was potassium?
Potassium needs to be balanced for your nervous system, and if you don't have it balanced, you have arrhythmias of the heart. Okay, so a couple of those should be good. And that's it. Yeah, any questions about nutrition? Respiratory, upper and lower anatomy, balance to alveoli. Everybody good there? Questions there? Uvula covers what?
The sinus.
Sinuses will flap the back of your throat. Epiglottis covers trachea. Brings the cartilage in the trachea are hyalin. Diaphragm is contracted. What are you doing? What?
Yeah.
All right, breathe in, breathe out. What are you doing? Wait, let's go with Vaughn. Vaughn, what do you say? All right, I'm going to tell you, you got to answer questions. Diaphragm is contracting. What are you doing?
If it's contracting coming in.
Coming in, I said contracting.
It's flat, right?
Okay, so you're in here.
It's flat.
It's flat.
Yes.
You're in here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're in here.
Just that, right? And remember I said, if your diaphragm is relaxing, right, it's going to be up, and the arrow, you're exhaling. If the diaphragm pulls down, it's contracting, and you're going to be inhaling. Use that R, relaxing, this, relaxing, contracting, relaxing, contracting, right? So it contracts, it's going to make your volume bigger. Increase volume, you're going to, air is going to rush in. Okay? And if you're in Denver, Colorado, and your diaphragm's contracting, what are you doing?
You're in here.
There
You're not gonna put this on, right?
I mean,
When you get back to the United States, you're going to say, where's the air thinner? You got to put a star where the air is thinner, right? Yes. Okay. Like when I was in second or third grade, we had to do a map of the United States. Some there, colored all the stuff in, and I got to the state of Washington. I thought, oh, that's the capital. I put a great big freaking star in there, man. I call that sucker in red and all that stuff. She said, what's that? It's the capital, Washington. No, Washington's not that little thing. That little thing is that important right there. Why would they make a big state?
Can you give us a question about the diaphragm like you did on the
Absolutely, I would be glad to. Because
about the atmospheric pressure, pressure, or
Okay.
whatever? I couldn't figure it
the partial pressure of oxygen is defined as the amount of water vapor, B, the amount of that gas in the total gas in the atmosphere, C, the amount of carbon dioxide that's replaced by the oxygen, or D, it has nothing to do with the gases, it only has to do with the water vapor. amount of oxygen compared to all of the gases. So the partial pressure of oxygen is 21% of, at Reading, Pennsylvania, 760 millimeters of mercury. Just round off, say 20% of 80, 800. 20% of 800, which is what, 40 or 400? Okay, so basically that's what you're, but see, you don't have to worry about that for anything I ask you about the diaphragm. The diaphragm is up, what's it doing? Exhale. Now, told you, learn it one way. The volume increases, contraction increases. Air's going to rush in, you're inhaling. Increase your inhaling. Okay? Diaphragm contracts, inhaling, increasing the volume. When the diaphragm relaxes, it pushes up. You have less volume. You're breathing out. Now, the volume is opposite the pressure. I would not learn volume and pressure. Volume and pressure. Just when you're inhaling, the diaphragm is contracted and the volume is increasing. And yes, the pressure is opposite that, but it would be decreasing.
So there's
Just
less.
learn volume, and then that's it. There's no less pressure,
There's nothing on pressure.
right? Volume increases. Now, when the volume increases, obviously you're going to have less pressure inside the chest cavity than where? Than outside. Outside doesn't change. Right now you're breathing, my diaphragm contracting and relaxing. Contracting and relaxing. This is the same. Okay? And when you relax, you're going to push the piston up, like in a little syringe barrel, and it's going to put more pressure there, and it's going to push the air out into the atmosphere. All you got to know. Yes, Tom.
On this test that we had, the one question that we all had trouble with, a decrease in respiratory efficiency occurs with an increase in altitude because it's supposed to be the atmospheric PO2 decreases.
Right.
I don't understand. I don't know what that means.
Pressure.
I don't understand.
Pressure.
Yeah.
Okay. If I would be on the other side of that door in Reading, Pennsylvania, I'll push real hard. But when I get to Denver, I can only push like that. There's less push of the atmosphere into my body. Okay? So, forget about the partial pressure, forget about the oxygen is the same.
So the oxygen is the same, but the
The
pressure,
push. The push
the
is
air
less.
pressure is less.
Right. The air pressure is less. You don't notice it, but it is less. And so for every time you put that diaphragm contracted, you should get 100 units of oxygen here in Reading, Pennsylvania. When you go to Denver, your body doesn't know you're in Denver. All right? So your diaphragm doesn't know you're in Denver. So it contracts, but then only 50 molecules of oxygen. And your blood says, oh, we need oxygen. Brain says, that oxygen. So what it's doing, it's going to make you breathe faster. And what else is it going to make you do? Produce more red blood cells by what process?
Starts with a P.
Erythropoiesis.
What's that called though? It starts with a P or something? The process of that. The blood doping thing.
Well, blood doping, if you take the blood.
Well, what was it supposed to
Procrete is another term for the drug they can give you.
I think there was a name for it.
Polycythemia.
Is that it?
Polycythemia is when you have excess red blood cells. Okay? Russ, better. You make up a question. If you're in Hawaii,
When the pressure in the atmosphere is greater
okay, good?
than
Keep going.
pressure in the
pressure in the atmosphere is greater than the pressure inside the lung cavity, what's happening? Excellent question. I'm gonna write that somewhere. What number do you want that to be?
Thanks, Russ.
20.
Okay, 20, I got that. Excellent question. What are you doing?
Exhaling, divine decrease.
In or X? Pressure out here is big, pressure inside your lung is less. Well, sure, it's gonna push in.
Oh, the pressure out here is more.
He said that, I didn't.
The pressure on the outside is more than what's in here.
Right.
So you're pushing it
Okay, now,
in there.
second question. What's your diaphragm doing in Russell's situation?
Contract. Yeah.
That's right, it's contracting. Now, how do you think through that? See, Nyman said just worry about the volume, and he throws in a question about pressure. Just like, remember the tic-tac-toe thing with your abdominal pelvic things? Just work through the problem. Okay, this is pressure. Let's put it off the side. Volume decreases, pressure decreases. Volume decreases, pressure increases. So pressure is greater out here than here, it means there's less pressure, must be greater volume. Got it. That's how you think through it. Okay? Very good. First day. Now on. You get it?
No.
He said the pressure here is greater inside your lungs. Tell me what is going on in your lungs that you have less pressure than out here.
There you go.
That's right. And what's your diaphragm doing? What's your down? Right. Questions? All right, you good?
But don't add all that extra stuff in there, just ask the question simple.
You want to ask a question?
Oh, but when you break the test.
Yeah, like
Ask them simple.
the question that Ellen read, can you just read your
I didn't know what
question,
she was
please?
talking about.
I said a decrease in respiratory efficiency.
Right now, you're not being able to breathe so hot. Well, not your language.
Okay, will be better?
You can't breathe so hot because, go ahead.
Because of an increase in altitude.
Okay.
Can't breathe because of an increase in altitude.
Okay.
Because. That's all the question. The atmospheric PO2 decreases, that's the answer.
It'd be better if you just said it like that, you can't breathe so hard and you're alive.
No, folks, this is critical thinking kind of stuff. You have to think through the situation. Okay, another thing about this breathing controls, gases, how about transport? How do you transport carbon dioxide? Quick!
BCD.
BCD, that's right, what is it?
I don't know.
Bicarbonate, carbaminohemoglobin, and diffusion. Okay, notice there's no carbonic anhydrase, because that is an enzyme. That is the enzyme that changes your carbonic acid to bicarb, and from bicarb to carbonic acid back and forth. Also breaks it down into carbon dioxide so you get it out of your lungs also.
So it's bicarbonate is the first one.
Bicarbonate, carbaminohemoglobin. So hemoglobin carries your oxygen. And when it backloads carbon dioxide, it's called carbaminohemoglobin. I don't know why you got it wrong. Okay?
And what's the third one?
Diffusion. Okay? Exchange of chemicals, carriers of gases. All right, you got that? That's the hemoglobin and the carbaminohemoglobin. Okay? Questions there? You're good? Now we're getting down to stuff you already know. Kidney. Now, in this chapter here, you could have stuff from the chapter on water, electrolyte, and acid balance. For example, I could say the urine normal pH is from what to what? And I'll give you different scenarios. 2 to 5, 6 to 8, 4 to 8, 11 to 13, right, it'd be like 4 to 8. Right?
If it's 4.5.
It's 4.5 to 8, but if I say 4 to 8, that's going to be close up, it's better than 12 to 13. Okay? If I say to you, you have acidosis condition, what ion is the kidney excreting? Ion. Chemical. Hydrogen. Because hydrogen makes acid. If you have alkalosis, the pH of your urine more likely will be 4, 6, 8, 10.
Wait, what, alpha or?
Alkalosis.
Oh, sorry, okay.
10. Okay? Because it wouldn't be 8, even though that's a base, because that's the norm. It has to be above that because you have alkalosis, you have overabundance, okay?
So ion excreted by kidney.
Hydrogen.
What?
Hydrogen.
Hydrogen ion is secreted when you have acidosis, because you get rid of excess hydrogens. That's one of the ways we talked about in that chapter about how do you work with the acidosis condition. Also, you can have questions about what would cause the acidosis condition of the respiratory system. Respiratory acidosis, what would be causing that? Hypoventilation, such as COPD, emphysema, blockage of airway. Okay. Decrease in red blood cells I really don't know if that would have an effect on. I don't think it would affect the carbon dioxide transport, because most of this is transported by the body car. I'd say no. It would affect that. Over a long period of time, it might have an effect. I don't think it would. We're going to. Three main processes: kidney and excretion. What are they? Filtration. Where does that occur? Glomerulus. Reabsorption. Mostly the proximal convoluted tubule, the first part, and then your secretion is distal and collecting duct distal. Glomerulus, the little thing you have in the back of your head, that's a glomerulus. Okay? And
Reabsorption is
mostly proximal convoluted tubule. Now, yes, you have it other places too, but that's predominantly where it is. Also, you have the little tiny tubes in the kidney are called the nephrons, correct? And you have the glomerular capsule, which is called Bowman's capsule also. That's where your filtration occurs. You have fenestrations in there. Where are fenestrations? Big holes like your colander, your kitchen, that will allow major big molecules to go through, except for molecules that are smaller than red blood cells and proteins. You can't have anything that big to go through. Hydrostatic pressure and the function. If you have an increase in blood pressure, what will it do to GFR? Increase it. If you have a decrease in your blood pressure, you'll have a decrease in GFR. What area of the kidney and its tubing will adjust for the glomerular filtration rate? It's a big word. JG, right? What's the glomerular apparatus? Where is that located? It's where your afferent and efferent tubes come into your glomerulus, right by your distal convoluted tubule. Okay? Can you picture that? Yeah.
where was the secretion doing?
Secretion is mostly in your latter part of your tubing, the distal convoluted tubule, the collective duct. I mean, it does occur in other places too. That's most of the time when you're going to get rid of anything that's still in your blood that you really decide you really don't need. You don't have to decide it, but I mean, because of osmosis and diffusion and stuff like that, you can get that stuff moving. Another question about your kidneys. You probably feel very confident about that because you just had that recently.
What about the macular density?
Macular density is the area where your juxtaverter apparatus is that will help with the regulation of your blood pressure. And that's the area also that you release an enzyme called renin. What does renin do? Don't say raise your blood pressure. No. What does renin do? No. It goes what? It will go to,
So long as you change the energy.
it will go and change angiotensin 1 to eventually 2, and then ultimately it's going to raise your water level or volume of your blood by way of a little hormone called, bring it on. And that is produced where? Specifically cortex of your adrenal glands. It's a mineralocorticoid. No. You guys are going to do fine. Unless you don't look at your book from now until next Thursday, you're going to do fine. Guaranteed. I said if you wouldn't look at your book from now until Thursday, then maybe you wouldn't do fine. Otherwise, you're going to do fine. All right? You guys know the stuff. I know you know.
It's just 100 fill in the blank.
It's not hard to fill in the blank. No. It's multiple choice
I
matching.
mean lab though.
It's not really local.
Lab is really a piece of cake.
Could you go over the reproductive hormones before we wrap up here?
Yes. Yes. Reproductive hormones, starting with GnRH, that is produced where? Releasing hormone, gonadotropin releasing hormone is hypothalamus. That will have its effect on what area? Anterior lobe of the pituitary. That will then produce follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. In the female, how about the male? Same thing. Essentially, those hormones will release the follicles, which are the sex cells, the gametes, the meiotic cells, right, Dusty? The ones that go through meiosis. Okay, you will work that hard. And then you have in the ovary estrogen. Just use that as one for it. It's a book called about estradiol, but estrogen fine, and progesterone. You did a lot of looking around with the corpus luteum. Whether you play games or golf or tennis, or you get conception or not, the corpus luteum will still produce progesterone for a time period of your menstrual cycle. If you do not have fertilization, the peak will occur and it will drop off, and you will lose your endometrial sloughing off of the inside layer. If you are pregnant, that corpus luteum will continue to produce progesterone on a higher scale because it will be told to do that from a little developing mass of cells called trophoblast that will continue to let the corpus luteum know to produce progesterone by a hormone known as HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin. But we already established that you could just say HCG.
What?
Okay? And then you have in the male, testosterone. Testosterone is produced in the testes. It is told to be produced by luteinizing and follicle-stimulating hormones from the anterior lobe pituitary. While in the neighborhood, the posterior lobe pituitary produces a hormone that is used to start labor for these smooth muscles that is called oxytocin. Not going to put down Pitocin, right, Vaughn? Oxytocin. You put down Pitocin in cream test, we have to, because that's what he's working with. And then you also have preliminary, has nothing to do with reproduction, but it is anti-diuretic hormone. Oxytocin also will cause milk letdown, milk excretion, milk ejection, or milk leaking. Plain old words, makes milk come out. Right? Oxytocin. Now, in the anterior pituitary, you also have a hormone not really dealing with reproduction, but once you are pregnant, the hormone levels will tell the anterior lobe through the hypothalamus to produce prolactin. Prolactin then will go where's the target cells for prolactin. Mammary gland. Your tiny epithelial cells will start to grow, and you will start to be able to produce milk.
What did you say triggers prolactin?
The hypothalamus.
But I mean, like, what would trigger that? What happens, like, because of course when
The hormone levels stay high, your brain says, hey, we're pregnant, we gotta start thinking about some food for this critter. Also, we're gonna shut down production of follicle hormone, luteinizing hormone, because we're already hooked up down there, we can't anymore. Questions? Yes?
Who's taking the lab test first? Thursday.
Thursday has to take it first, because Thursday is required to stay up to 6:30 on Tuesday. Thursday's group is first, Tuesday's group will be about 6:15, 6:20.
The 5 o'clock is Thursday.
5 o'clock is Thursday's group. 5 o'clock. Now, if you have any real burning desire questions, then if no other time that when you're studying for your lab practice, oh, that'd be good practice. You should ask it, you can freely ask me after the lab practice.
The Thursday night. Are we gonna get our grades Thursday?
You will have your grades on Thursday when you,
Usually go there. Can we take as long as we want for final?
it won't really matter at all. I was gonna say, I can put them in the computer, but come here Wednesday night, so the final game will be won, but it still won't be posted until the next day, so it probably won't be posted.
You see what it says, like, as we hand in her final exams? So we don't really have it.
You can have it whenever you want. I'm ready for you guys. 100 questions in the lab practical, and the other test is 100 questions, multiple choice matching, of which there will probably be at least 20 to 25. Oh, sorry, 150, and there'll be at least 25 to 30 matching, but there won't be just one whole page matching. There's smaller banks of like 10 or 15 bank questions of matching, so there'll probably be at least 25, 30 of those. So you're looking at a little over 100 multiple choice and about 25, 30 matching. And all kidding aside, if you prepared well throughout the semester, which I think all of you did, right? You don't have to panic about the final. It's not the final harder test just shows all the final. It's just overall things about what we talked about all year long. First thing,
Can we take as long as we want for final?
yeah, I'm going to change that back to you.
How about we can change it though?
You have a certain amount of time, that's it.
Those 4 points.
The micro, you'll be an hour.
Well, right, should be, you go over the class, right, that's what it should be. Adjust it. But no, I still think I'm doing you a favor by allowing you to have one more time, because you actually won't be able to have it. Yeah, you have one time you want. Please ask questions, but if you want to stand stuff, do the thing. Have to stand test also, but you will be able to write on your test. Last time if I will be. Question? Okay, we'll start round about order up. Round robin. Is anybody here in Tuesday's lab group wants to quickly look up something because you forgot something to look up? The stuff is all up there. I dug all the stuff out from the hiding places, and we have it all out there in case you want to look at anything before you go home, before the next group starts the lab, that's fine.
Yeah, just like over and it was like,
They've gone.
No, I said, after all there, the emails from last week, I feel like she's like,
Thanks.
three people sent me that heel on my page card. 3 people. Huh? It was pretty though. It was pretty. I've seen worse. I've seen much worse.
It really wasn't even a seal, it was that